Ladies and gentlemen, next up to the chopping block, we have Bethesda's 2016 E3 conference, which, once again, much like EA, has left me feeling a little bit empty. I'm only really excited for one thing from Bethesda at the moment, and that is, without a doubt, Dishonored 2. They didn't reveal a new Elder Scrolls game. In fact, they did something I was really hoping they wouldn't do, and we'll get to that in just a moment. So, how did they open their conference? Well, unlike EA, they didn't have someone come out and talk. They went straight into a trailer, a reveal trailer for Quake Champions, which is a new Quake game. Now, Bethesda seemed to be doing something really interesting. They revealed Doom last year and then just released Doom this year. They're revealing Quake Champions this year, so I'm assuming it will release in around March next year. I don't know that I necessarily care for this. I don't really see the reason to bring back these old franchises because they're not doing anything necessarily revolutionary. They were revolutionary and they were sort of the staple of their genre back in the day, but these days they're not at all, I don't think. They don't seem all that exciting and interesting anymore. They seem a little bit generic, but with a really remarkably flashy paint job, which I have to commend them for. Doom looks amazing visually, but in terms of gameplay, it just looks bland. That's why I avoided it, and that's probably why I'll end up avoiding Quake Champions, because we didn't see any gameplay. We saw a CGI reveal trailer, which was followed by some announcements regarding QuakeCon, where we will get more information regarding Quake Champions. They're saying the game is going to be fast, it's going to have unlimited frame rates, it's got different champions to play as. Basically, it sounds like Overwatch. We move on a little bit, and we have some chatter regarding The Elder Scrolls Legends, which is a digital collectible card game, which has a story mode, has mobile versions, and just looks like it's another unnecessary game. Much like Quake Champions is possibly inspired by the recent success of these sort of hero or champion or character-based first-person shooters, it looks like Elder Scrolls Legends is still a thing and is absolutely inspired by the fact that Blizzard did really well with Hearthstone, which we've already seen a lot of people try and gimp a little bit. I don't think we need a collectible card game for the Elder Scrolls. I know Jagex have done a similar thing with RuneScape, I believe, and made a sort of CCG there, and everyone sort of toys around with the idea of a CCG spin-off of their franchise at some point. I don't really think we need as many CCGs as we have these days, and I'm not interested in the Elder Scrolls Legends either, so that's 2 for 2 thus far that I couldn't care less about. Bethesda, you're doing so well at the moment. You really, really are. Moving on, we get a video with Todd Howard where he's talking about Fallout 4 and announcing the first, or the next DLC, which is called Contraptions, which basically is a sort of Rube Goldberg machine creator thing. You can also build sorting machines and elevators. You get like weapon racks and armor stands and stuff like that. It looks kind of cool. It looks like an interesting thing to play around with. But that was then followed up with the Vault Tech DLC announcement, in which you can basically build your own vault. And that looks really interesting. That looks really, really interesting. I'm quite excited about that one. I definitely want to try that out when it releases for Fallout 4. And then that little Fallout 4 presentation was capped off by a sort of teaser for a Nuka Land thing, which again looks kind of cool, but is something we don't have any information on. They sort of just teased it. I assume we'll hear more about it before it releases, I believe in August this year. We then have the announcement that Fallout Shelter is coming to PC in July and is also getting a sort of quest system thing. I never had the chance to play Fallout Shelter, so I'm definitely excited to try it on PC next month. That'll be a nice thing to try out. It looked like an interesting game, looked a bit fun, and looks like something I could sink some time into and then forget about. And then we come to the one thing that I really didn't want Bethesda to do. They announced and confirmed the existence of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition or Remastered Edition or whatever it is. It's an HD remaster of Skyrim, which is basically what PC gamers have been playing for the last 5 years because of mods. So I didn't want this. I don't think we need this. I really don't care for an HD remaster of Skyrim. I would have much preferred that we see an actual new Elder Scrolls game. Because it has been a while, Bethesda. It has been a little while since an Elder Scrolls game came out. Might want to consider that. What that does tell me, though, is that Bethesda are working on Elder Scrolls content in that regard, and the fact that the remaster does look good, I'll give it that, it does look pretty, bodes well for whatever the next Elder Scrolls game will then in fact be, because I assume it will look equally, if not more pretty than the Skyrim remaster. Next up, Arcane Studios took to the stage and got me incredibly excited and a little bit of a semi, because Arcane Studios are the developers of Dishonored. They didn't decide to talk about Dishonored at this point, though. They actually announced that Prey is a thing. And it's not Prey 2, it is just Prey. Which is interesting. It seems that Bethesda also love to do this thing of taking old franchises and not making, and basically rebooting them with the original title. I guess it works. Fair enough. Prey 1 was a thing, then Prey 2 had a demo, then Prey 2 was cancelled, so several years later getting basically a reboot to Prey is kind of cool. The trailer looked interesting. It looked like a very curious game, a bit of a psychological thriller / horror, so I'll take it. It comes out next year. Looks like it'll be interesting. I will say, it looks like Bethesda are gearing up for an interesting launch pattern, where this year they released Doom early on and then Dishonored late in the year. So I assume next year is going to be Quake early on, then Prey late in the year. And I don't know what will follow up in 2018. I really don't know what will be there. But I reckon, and I hazard a guess, that we're going to see something in early 2018 from Bethesda. Possibly a smaller Fallout game, like a sort of spin-off Fallout game, the way they kind of did with New Vegas. I doubt it, though. But then in late 2018, we'll see an Elder Scrolls game. I honestly reckon next E3, we will see the reveal of Elder Scrolls 6. We better see the reveal of Elder Scrolls 6 at next year's E3. I'm just saying. They then moved on to talk a little bit about Doom. They mentioned that Snap Map is getting content updates. They're dropping the 2-weapon restriction. There's multiplayer DLC coming out that has new modes or something. I don't know. They were saying that new modes are coming to the game and they're all going to be free and will work on every map, which I thought was redundant because you would expect them to do that anyway. I don't know. It's definitely interesting to see that they are continuing to support Doom. That's nice. I mean, it's to be expected. Doom is getting a bit of a shareware version, which is that for this week only, the first chapter of Doom will be free to let you try it out and see what you think if you don't already have Doom. This is nice. I would like to see more companies take up the trend of making demos for their games, because it would be nice to try before you buy, which was a thing way back when, and not so much these days. Even though we do have betas, it would still be nice to try before you buy. Hopefully, the Doom shareware version is actually a bit of a success. I will absolutely try it out, just to be one of the people that sort of perhaps helps with that and shows that this is something gamers are interested in. I would encourage you to do the same, even if you just play it for the sake of playing it, just because I want companies to notice that we want demos. Not betas, not tests, just post-launch or at the same time as launch, demos. We then talked about the Elder Scrolls Online, which I could not care less about, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I don't care about the Elder Scrolls Online. It's coming out in Japan. The Dark Brotherhood DLC trailer was dropped for the Elder Scrolls Online for consoles, I believe. And then they talked about the Elder Scrolls Online 1 Tamriel, which is where they're dropping level restrictions and content restrictions and apparently putting all platforms in the same servers, which seems like it defeats the purpose of an MMO, dropping level and content restrictions. But If it works, it works. Fair enough. I don't know if it will. I don't care for ESO, so there you go. Then they announced Bethesda VR, which is an interesting thing. It's nice that a AAA company is supporting VR in this way. Doom works with VR, or is going to have a VR version. And then Fallout 4 VR is apparently launching next. I think it releases next year on HTC Vive, which again is really cool. AAA games on VR is something that will absolutely get me much more interested in the technology. I do have one complaint, which is it's a very cynical complaint, but it is a complaint nonetheless. As cool as it is to have a VR version of Fallout 4, I would like actual games, actual AAA games developed specifically for VR, not games that already exist and are then ported and made to work with VR. And then to cap off the conference, we get to see Dishonored 2, which looks absolutely incredible. Dishonored 2 gameplay looks pretty solid. It's using the Void engine. It's 15 years after the first game. Corvo is, in fact, Emily's father. Both of them can speak. You can choose who you play as. The weather can change, influencing your playstyle. There's more vertical space. It just looks absolutely incredible. Lots of new abilities, lots of new environments, new enemies, new moves, new things you can do, new story. It looks really, really good. The game looks beautiful as well. They specifically said that they're trying to make Dishonored 2 look like a painting in motion, and they really seem to have achieved that. It looks absolutely incredible. I am so pleased with Dishonored 2 and how it's looking. I'm so excited to get to play Dishonored 2 later this year. It's gonna be so good. It really, really is. I love Dishonored 1. It is absolutely up there as one of my all-time favorite games. It took that post, that place, and that title as soon as I finished it. I adore the first Dishonored game. My one complaint, though, is that in the original Dishonored, Emily wasn't a big fan of Corvo killing people. And in the gameplay they showed, even though it was actual gameplay played by someone, Emily was doing a lot of killing. I don't know if that's necessarily the way the story goes, that maybe the dark ending of Dishonored 1 was the canon one, or whatever. I don't remember it specifically off the top of my head. I imagine they will stick with the system of you can play the light way or the dark way. Light way is non-lethal, dark way is fully lethal. Either way, I need Dishonored 2 in my life. I really, really do. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Bethesda Press Conference from E3 2016. It was a decent conference. I was left a little bit underwhelmed, a little bit empty at the end of it. Not necessarily as bad as EA's conference. I think my complaint with EA was more that they just didn't show enough stuff. It's just with Bethesda, they showed a bunch of stuff that I just don't care about. So, maybe not a bad conference, just not my conference. Anyway, like I said, that is going to be it. So thank you kind of for watching. Next up, we have, I believe, Microsoft and Sony. There's all sorts going on. There's a lot more to go with E3 this year. I'm going to be incredibly tired. But yes, thank you kind of for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.